Do you long to feel more joy in work and life? Do you want to reduce stress and sleep better? Are you looking for healthy ways to cope? Join Speedway Jefferson, certified mindfulness practitioner and lawyer, and learn to operate from your peaceful path. Harness the power of mindfulness meditation to feel softer, more clear, supported, and cheerful, starting with just 5 minutes a day.
All right, so listeners, I have a treat for you because I have a returning guest. She is Merie Weismiller Wallace. And if you didn't catch our first episode, I really encourage you to go back and listen to it. She is a certified emotion code and body code practitioner. And if you don't know what that is, you really need to go back and listen. Merie, welcome back to Mindful in 5.
Thank you, Speedway. I'm very happy to be here.
Listeners, please note that our opinions that we are going to express here are our own and not attributable to any of the organizations we might be affiliated with. Well, I am delighted to have you back because I suspect that there are a lot of people who listened to the first episode and were absolutely intrigued. And so here we are to wrap up this conversation. So in the first episode, we talked a lot about the subconscious, and you talked about the quantum field, and you talked a lot about, things outside really the sort of corporal material realm. And the question that I would have for you is, when you work with clients, and for all the years that you've been working with clients, is there any difference between people who do have some sort of spiritual grounding or some sort of spiritual connection versus the efficacy of how well this works for people who don't have any sort of spiritual connection or connectivity?
Well, that is a fabulous question, Speedway, because the answer is it doesn't make a difference, because if they are there, their subconscious mind is completely tuned in and ready to go. The thing that does factor in is that people with a spiritual life already understand that connectivity, because they connect in prayer, they connect in meditation, they connect in being available and being open-minded and being perceptive. And so they come to me and those channels are open. Now, the truth of the matter is you don't have to have those, because many human beings don't. And the body code and the emotion code works on people. So it doesn't require that. But when they have it, their experience in some ways is almost, it's as if it's lubricated. I don't know how to explain that exactly. But again, not necessary, because we are working, in fact, on a scientific level of the frequencies of energy. And this is a modality to detect trapped and repeating and triggering emotions, memory conglomerates, which is called a mind field, a memory field, and other negative energies like limiting beliefs and the loss of will, or people on overdrive, people who have been kind of shut down by overwhelm, people who have gone through a lot of shock in their lives, some shocking news, some shocking things happened. So we're dealing with that, and that's the human condition.
That's really good. Well, that's excellent, because then I think what that says to some of the listeners is, gosh, I don't want anybody to feel like, well, gee, if I don't have some deep spiritual maturity, I can't do this thing. And so I think that's actually probably quite encouraging to people who might not feel like they're especially spiritual. So when you and I did our session, you introduced me to this concept of the idea allergy. So share with us what that is. I've never heard of it, but what is it, and how can idea allergies impact the body?
All right. Thank you. Great question. Again, an idea allergy is a term, but a concept that was brought to me through Dr. Bradley Nelson in my training as a practitioner for the emotion code and the body code. And it's mentioned in his books by the same names. And what it is this: if we have an extremely negative experience, or we are in overwhelm and having a very overwhelming experience, our self, so maybe it's the subconscious mind, whatever dimension it is, our self tries to protect ourselves from it so that we do not come into contact with it again. And so basically, you can become allergic to anything. You can become allergic to somebody's cologne because there was a lot of that cologne around when you were having this horrible experience. You can become allergic to a food because it was your favorite food and you were eating it, and then you got some food poisoning, you got sick, you've somehow associated that food with that illness, and your self will go, whoa, I don't like that, I don't want it, because it's trying to protect you from that happening again. With an idea allergy, you can form an idea allergy to anything. But what it is where your self is trying to keep you away from that thing. Sometimes the allergy, it'll manifest into the physical. You will get sinus problems. I mean, you will get itching. There are physical ways that allergies manifest. But the truth is, again, every symptom is a clue, it's a message. And so if you are having allergies, okay, there's something left that needs to be done. And it may be, let's say it's not emotional, let's say it's not mental, let's say it's not an idea allergy. Let's say it is a physical allergy, but it's because you were taking so much of it in, or there's a component in it that your body does not want, does not need, or has made the association that at a time in its life, it didn't want it or it didn't need it. And it has too much, and it will start to produce the symptoms of an allergy to say, hey, back off of that. It's not what we need right now. But even those frequencies can trap. So from then on, whenever you go camping, you have sinus problems because there was so much pollen in the air when you were having this traumatic experience, etc. So from there on, it's handled like any other energetic frequency. We do muscle testing, we find it. The person says, like, I don't know, I always have sinus problems, or I don't know, I always itch, or else it functions like a limiting belief, and it's like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not like that, or I don't like that, or something happened to me and now I can't do that. That's when it's like on the mental level with no physical symptom like an allergy. And so we just say, is there something that is there something we can work on? This person comes to me with whatever their problem is. I feel like I can't get anything done. Every time I try to do something, I just give up. Okay, is there anything we can do? Yes, there is. And we go through the body code or emotion code charts, the body code chart. And whoa, lo and behold, the subconscious mind will lead me to the fact that it's an idea allergy. Oh, I didn't know that in advance. I can't know that. But the subconscious mind and the body through muscle testing will tell me, yes, in fact, it's an idea allergy. And then we go through the same exact things. Is there anything else we need to know about it? No, there isn't. Yes, there is. Oh, we need to make the association that in fact, it is influencing your life each time you start a new project, or every time you get around somebody that you think might be attractive, or whatever it is. So, and then once we've, is there anything else we need to know? No, there's nothing else we need to know. Then we release it. It's the exact same thing, that it is a frequency, an energetic frequency, which has been living in the body, memorized by the body. It goes through the meridians, it goes to the governing meridian, and we release it out energetically. It is energy, out of the energy body, out of the energetic field, and it is gone. And then let me just say this, if it has taken a physical component, anytime anything takes a physical component, the body is built to heal. If you get a cut, it'll heal. If you have anemia and you get the right kind of iron that you can metabolize, your body knows what to do. It knows how to heal itself. So with energy work, it is the client's body that does all the healing. It is the client's heart that does the healing. It's the client's mind that does the healing. It's the client's spirit that does the healing. Human beings are built to heal, but sometimes some things are in the way. So we get rid of the things that their subconscious mind says is in the way of them healing, and then they self-heal. Now, maybe they do need some more. We might be led next to the fact that they need to shift their nutrition. Maybe we might be led to the fact that the interference they're experiencing with the sleeping is inhibiting the body from healing. But regardless, we take away the layers of the onion, and we get to the point where there's nothing stopping the body from self-healing, and it self-heals, and it happens. It works. I've seen it. It's remarkable.
So when you and I met, I was troubled by chronic pain in my left knee, right? And it was triggered when I slipped on some ice in my neighbor's driveway, because I live in Minnesota, we get lots of snow and ice in the winter. So immediately after our session, and as I said in the first session, I was kind of skeptical. And actually, I don't think you knew this until today, but the reason I was willing to try was because I was asking you, so Merie, this is very interesting. How does it work? And one of the things that you mentioned as an example was, let's say you have, pain in your knee. And I was like, oh, and you didn't know that I had pain in my knee in that moment, but I'm a God lover. And one of the things I encourage people to do is just look at the ways, be attentive to how God speaks to you. And I had been praying about this knee, and then here you come and didn't even know. And then you said this thing, and I thought, oh, and then I started thinking, well, maybe this is part of my healing answer. And what do I have to lose? And I can either, if this whole thing doesn't work, I'm still walking away with the same pain in my knee, no harm, no foul, which is why I did it. And I know you know this, but I'll tell the listeners, I was in so much pain that I could no longer sit cross-legged for my meditation, which was a big deal because I always sit on my meditation pillow cross-legged. And I love to bike in the summertime. And I had gotten on my bike one time and I made it maybe a mile, and I had to come back because my knee hurt so much. And I think I explained to you, it was like every time I put pressure on it, it was like somebody had a sharp pen and they were just jabbing it into the side of my knee. So we have the session, and I am, show up all skeptical, and I'm like, sure, she's going to do the thing, and she's going to, tell me that it's going to take time and it's going to take forever, and then it's never going to heal, but it's fine because what do I have to lose? So we go through the session, and I do remember experiencing that subconscious connection. it almost felt like a force field around me, where I was like, I've never felt that before. What? This is very interesting. She said, it must be. But at the end of the session, Merie, I remember getting up and you said, okay, I was sitting in a chair and we're working on this knee. And you told me to get up and walk and see how it felt. And I got up and I remember saying to you, wow, that pen that's been jabbing me in the side of my knee is not there anymore. And we walked to the hotel, we walked down the stairs. And I remember saying, oh, Merie, I can walk down the stairs with no pain. And so that was my experience. And I still had some spiritual work to do. And now the pain is gone and I can sit cross-legged and I can go cycling. I did a 10-mile bike ride the other day. And so I love that I met you, and I do attribute my healing, because it was immediate that day, to this session that we had. So the question that I'm left with, and that I still don't understand, I mean, I don't understand exactly how this worked. I just know it worked for me. But I wonder, you said in the first episode that you're not a medical doctor. What is the difference between this practice and, let's call it, traditional medicine? Are there situations where this works? And are there situations where it's less likely to be effective depending on what the issue is?
Brilliant question, big question. So let me say this: energy works, let's say, in not instead of, but in connection with regular medicine. If somebody needs to go to a doctor, they know it and they need to go to a doctor. They should go to a doctor. I do not do what a doctor does. I don't. I just don't. I'm just not trained as a doctor in any way. I call it energy work because I am not trained in anything medical, but very many people call it energy medicine, and many people call it energy healing. And I just call it energy work, just respectful for the accurate definitions of words. That being said, another thing that I want to say just quickly about this is this. I have had people with physical symptoms where they wished that after one session they would be healed, and they're not. And here's how that works. First of all, many things have many layers. And particularly anything that comes from, let's say, childhood trauma, you've been carrying this around for a long time. It's had many applications to present itself, and a lot of onion layer peeling has to take place before the body can self-heal. But remembering that this is all about the body self-healing, if something is relatively new, there isn't a lot of stuff wrapped around it. And in your case, what I remember is that it was linked directly to some things that were going on in your life at the same time that were carrying an emotional burden and a mental burden. And in fact, what happens is there is a direct link between the mind, the emotions, the spirit, and the physical body. It is a complex, and it is a whole complex. So for sure, what happens in your mind and your heart, or your emotions, affects your body. And when it has manifested itself as a symptom in the body, where it's saying there's still something wrong, this is still unresolved, it can be a negative frequency that goes literally to, it has to go somewhere. It is physical on the level of energetic frequencies. Excuse me. It is physical. And so if you have fallen and your knee is now weak, and it now is compromised, and it now is in its own healing trauma, the negative emotions and mental energy physically will often go to the weakest point in the body. So in your situation, it was your knee. But I know when I was trained, they tell the story that something was happening in somebody's life. They twisted their ankle. Years later, that pain in their ankle never healed. They went through the body code, worked on the emotional and mental trauma, and the symptom in the ankle dissipated and went away because it was not actually a symptom that there was a physical problem. It was an indication of a negative frequency in the area that was a burden.
So what if somebody has something that is, I think of it as psychological and chemical, like, say, for example, depression, right? So there is a physical manifestation, but it's not the same as like, I broke my arm or, you know what I mean? I injured my back carrying something that was too heavy. Are those situations that would be amenable to this kind of work, energy work?
Absolutely. The one thing is there are layers of depression, and there's something called, clinical depression and chronic depression. And again, that goes into a realm of expertise where I am not trained. What I am trained in is energy work. But I will tell you that depression has a very specific energetic frequency. It feels like something. Just as anger feels like something, and sorrow feels like something, and shame feels like something, depression feels like something. And that feeling is a frequency. And that frequency, maybe they're depressed because something is happening in their life in the present that it is a natural, normal, constructive reaction to say, hey, that thing isn't good. It's like an allergy, like you should move away from that thing. It's not good. In that case, it doesn't come up for me because I'm not working on anything that benefits the person. But if it is an old, it's baggage, it's something that is actually today, everything's fine, but the person is still feeling this feeling. It is like a trapped emotion. It is like a looping energetic frequency. And so I ask the person, their subconscious, is there anything we can do to help so-and-so with the fact that they are experiencing what they are calling depression? Muscle test, yes, there is. And within the emotion code, there is a clear, clean frequency called depression. Again, there's, overwhelm, blame, shame, anger, but depression is one of them. And if it comes up for us, we can release it. In a situation like that, very rarely is that the only thing that the person is holding. They may also be holding sorrow around that subject, fear around that subject, shame around that subject, blame around that subject. So and what they are experiencing as depression may actually be a cocktail of cycling emotions. So the emotion code just systematically finds this one, then it finds that one, then it finds this one, then it finds that one. And as long as the subconscious mind knows that it no longer serves the person, we can release the energetic frequency. And then the body goes, oh, great, that's not here anymore. Now I can self-heal. And again, that's whether it's self-healing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically.
Super interesting.
Sorry, may I say one other thing?
Yes.
May I add something, which is this? If somebody loses a limb, human beings, as far as I understand, are not designed to grow another one. So there are things that the human body potentially cannot do in terms of healing. okay? In fact, people are finding that virtually anything is healable. But again, who am I to say? In my experience, I have seen wonderful things, and you experienced something great in your life. But so what we do is we take it to the point where the physical, where the body, where the person, the client is in charge of self-healing. So again, they may need some, they may eat junk food and be, wondering why they don't feel well. Well, if they don't get the proper nutrition and the proper exercise, that has nothing to do with me. But I mean, their subconscious mind will go to nutrition and exercise for sure. But I'm just saying that the body heals itself. So I do not heal anybody, and something that the body does not have what it needs to heal, it doesn't heal. But the body code and the emotion code bring it to where it has the information. So we will get to sleep, we will get to nutrition, we will get to toxins, we will get to infections, bacteria, mold, we will get to these things. But again, then it's the person, if we find mold and then the person stays in the place where the mold is, then their body may not heal.
What kind of results have your clients experienced through your practice? Give us some examples. So we talked about the pain of money. We talked about depression and all the negative sort of thought habits that cycle and can cycle with depression. For the benefit of people who are listening and thinking, right, so what's like a range of things that you have seen and you feel like you've successfully applied this energy work to? What is a range of things that people can think about?
Thank you for asking. The one thing which is interesting is that once people start feeling better, very often I never see them again because they feel better. So I don't always know. What I know is what they come to me with. But sometimes what they come to me with is not actually what we end up working on. Sometimes the subconscious mind says, oh, you think it's, it's such and such. No, this is what you need to work on. And then, we always do, because the person's like, oh, really? Well, okay, let's work on that. But I had a client who came repeatedly for migraine headaches. And we found, okay, so hold on to your hats, you skeptics. We found a lot of inherited energy. And migraines actually ran in that person's family, and their siblings had migraines. At least one of their parents had it, if not both of their parents. And so we were able to release inherited energies and inherited memories of illnesses. And it actually took many sessions, and the person would start having, there'd be a while where they weren't having migraines, and then the migraines would come back, and we'd find something else entirely, but again, it was inherited, this time from a different grandparent. And anyway, but in time, they continued to be my client for other reasons, but they just stopped telling me, they stopped coming to me for migraines, because they learned both how to manage them, how to tell when they were starting. They became in touch with them, and they happened less frequently. So I have had people that have, I mostly see people that have emotional baggage. That is mostly who comes to me. I don't get a ton of people that are just coming for physical symptoms. But so really, I would say it's mostly people, for example, I had a friend who lost her husband, and they were very much in love, and there was a lot of grief around that. And so a lot of grief, a lot of overwhelm, a lot of shock, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of lack of will. There was a lot going on. Well, it was normal and healthy. Who wouldn't feel that way? We were not trying to get it so she didn't care that her husband died. That's not what was happening. But what we didn't want, we wanted her to go through what she was going through and to come through in a healthy, balanced, centered, grounded way. So we tested and we checked, was there anything trapped? Was there anything looping? Was there anything? And it doesn't come up unless it no longer serves. So we did get some grief. We didn't get all the grief so that she no longer grieved her husband, but we did get some looping griefs that we were able to release.
Super interesting. And, interesting because when I felt like it was really a challenge when I showed up with my knee, because I thought I had a physical problem. And it wasn't until we got into it and you started saying other things like, this is inherited. And I was like, what? And you started asking about, so did anything happen? Did it get worse? I think you asked me if it got better after I fell, and then it got worse. And I said, well, yeah. And so then you started asking all these questions that made it very clear that even though I had this physical manifestation, there was an aspect of what was aggravating it that was very much emotional, that was psychological. And I was surprised, Merie, because I just thought my knee hurt. And I was thinking, I'm young. I don't want to have reconstruction knee replacement surgery. And I was just thinking, gosh, but that would have been, the next thing would have been to go see a specialist, but it would have all been focused on treating the physical thing without recognizing that there was an emotional and psychological component to the physical manifestation of the thing. So I think that for me was really surprising. Do you encounter that a lot?
Virtually always, I do find this to be the case. For example, I have people that come in with tension in their back. And when we release the psychological components around that, the tension relaxes because the body, when it's not tense, it relaxes. And then the pain of the tension is gone. So people will come to me with physical complaints, but then immediately the subconscious mind leads us to the emotional and mental components that are symptomatic in the part of the body that they're talking about. So at that point, we work on the emotional and mental, and the physical symptoms just relax and decrease. Now, we also, because the body code actually does work with the body, it has, just yesterday, I had somebody who had walked for 5 miles in a situation where they overexerted themselves and they were experiencing pain in their lower back, which was not going away. And then oddly, they started having pain under their ribs, and it was not going away. And that entire session was all physical. Not one emotional or mental aspect came up because the hike had been fantastic. The time had been wonderful, but they had overexerted themselves and had experienced pain. And the pain was like cycling and repeating. And then in that situation, what happened was where the pain was in the back, the kidneys and the adrenal glands are there also. And the adrenal glands had been pushed too hard in that overexertion. And so they had a weak health, weak frequency. They were not at full frequency. And there was some connection because we also got her fascia. which has a communicative element. It's called piezoelectric or electronic piezoelectric communication. And so there were several things going on in the area. And so we got all of these physical, we got the L3 vertebra, we got her ilium bone, we got fascia, we got the adrenal glands, we just got many things in that same area. That was yesterday, so I don't know how she's doing, but it's just an example where we didn't have one emotional or mental frequency come up.
Wow, so interesting. So I find this area completely fascinating. Fortunately for me, I actually tried it and it works. So it worked for me. So this is not my way, listeners, of saying, you know, there's no guarantee. As I think, Merie, you have very eloquently articulated, you know, results will vary by person, and it just depends on what's happening with you. Are there some takeaways that you would like our mindful ninjas to walk away from? If they remember nothing else, what would you want them to remember about these conversations that we've had?
That's what I'd like to say. Just for them to have faith and knowledge that they are built to heal, and that anything that they are going through, that they can have a huge impact on their own well-being. And that is super important, and that we are responsible for taking care of ourselves. And so if you need to find somebody to help you, whether it's an emotion code or body code practitioner or a masseuse or a therapist or whatever it is to help you, please do. The other thing that I want to say is this. What ends up happening with people who work with me largely is they start to just feel normal. Some of them go, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I feel great. And that is the relief of whatever that other thing was being gone. So they feel kind of, wow, that's fantastic. But what really happens is they just go to normal. And some people, I had one client, she was so stressed out about what was going on at work and these certain interpersonal relationships and what the impact might have on how long she would stay at that business. And she was a mess. I mean, emotionally, she was just freaked out. And we did a lot of great work. And at one point I, was checking in with her, and she said, oh yeah, no, that's all over. I mean, that just, nothing happened and blah, blah. And she totally did not track that she had been looping distress, and now it was gone, and that everything was just normal. What she thought was sort of that what she and I did together didn't have any impact, but that the circumstances had changed. But by the way she described it to me, it was clear that she was just not tracking the connection between what we did and what the results were. So anyway, the takeaway really is this, that we're built to heal, that what we want to be is normal. What we want to do is feel normal, that actually feeling good is the normal state of health, and that health is physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and that we are responsible for our health.
I love that. So listeners, you're going to find links to Merie's website and ways to connect with her, in addition to some helpful articles on stress, trauma, and that unpack. I actually did include, for the benefit of our listeners, because you've mentioned him a bunch of times and I was curious, Dr. Bradley Nelson. There's a really great YouTube video where he talks about and he explains this concept of the emotion code. The thing that I think I learned from you that I feel like I always knew it, Merie, but I didn't. Sometimes you know things, but you don't really know them. And I think what I learned from you was the fact that there is a real link between emotional stress and the psychological trauma and the physical manifestation of it that you might experience in your body. And the opposite is true. There is a real link between physical injury and your emotional state and your psychological well-being. So thank you for teaching us all those really wonderful lessons. Merie Weismiller Wallace, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have any parting words that you would like to share?
The parting words are this, that we are all on a path, and that we can either be reactive to what comes to us, or we can choose what is meaningful to us and make a difference in the areas we care about. And I encourage everyone to just really notice what you notice what you care about, notice what matters to you. I've written a book, which will be published later this year, that goes into it with a little bit more detail. But yes, be proactive, follow through with what matters to you.
Fantastic. Merie, thank you so much for joining us on Mindful in 5 today.
Thank you, Spiwe. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Mindful in 5. If you enjoyed it, follow and rate it on your favorite podcast platform or on trustpilot.com. Get your copy of the book Mindful in 5 from Amazon.com or mindfulin5.com today. Visit mindfulin5.com to download sample chapters of the book, watch videos, connect with the Mindful in 5 community on social media, and more. Until next time, be mindful and be well.